Hello, everyone. I'm Abby Ripstra, and I'm the lead design researcher here at the Wikimedia Foundation, as many of you know. I'm the first design researcher here, and so today I'm going to take some time to talk with you about how I'm thinking of kind of fitting design research into our product development process. I'm going to talk a little bit about the high-level process of innovation and product development. So could you switch to the slides? Okay, so design research at Wikimedia Foundation. So I am here because to build products and to innovate good products, successful products, you need to have those products be desirable for the people who you're building them for. You also need to have viability. We need to know that it's in accordance with the business, which is our mission. And we need to make sure that we can actually build them. Is it feasible? So we need technology to make those things happen. So my role is about desirability and how to bring the user's needs and feedback and contributions into the process. So, I want to hide this little. Oh, okay. So understanding desirability isn't only my gig, it's a lot of people are understanding this. So community engagement, which Rachel's here, the director of community engagement, and design and design research are also part of that, and all the communities also, of course, who we need to collaborate with to understand what is desirability. So, so to zoom out to a little bit of higher level, the necessary ingredients for innovating successful products. It's a collaborative process, so it's a lot of different people to make this happen, to make products. So like I said, we need viability, and viability is about, and traditionally this might be, what's the business? Like if we were at a big corporation, what's the business that we're trying to be successful in? And our business is our mission, our making the sum of human knowledge available and contributable to by everyone. So we need to make sure that what we do is viable towards that mission. And then, oops, go back. So also we need to make sure it's viable, it's feasible to do that. So we need to make sure that the technology can make that happen. So in proper proportion, what can we build? And then desirability. So all these three ingredients need to be in proper proportion to make successful products, to innovate successful products. So it's also an iterative process. So this is a little framework just describing the innovation process in general. And this process happens when you're trying to understand concepts, like the concept of an encyclopedia. Like maybe before Wikipedia was here, people were looking around at, okay, what encyclopedias are existing? What's possible? What are people looking for? What's missing in the encyclopedias of before Wikipedia? And then, so you start in this understand section about, you see what's existing, what's concrete, and then you start trying to understand what is existing now and what are the possibilities for the future. Where are there opportunities to provide something new? Where are there unmet needs? Where are areas that we can innovate? And so you look for unmet needs, you look at the big picture, you learn about opportunities, and then you kind of move around to trying to know more about that, and you're getting kind of abstract now. You're moving into, you have all this data from the research you've done, from looking at what's existing, from trying to understand unmet needs, and you look in all that data and all that research and find patterns there. And you can find opportunities, and you can extract insights. So then things are kind of abstract, but you know a lot more than you did before you started this process. So then you're moving over from the abstract into, you're still in abstract, but now you have fodder for design, you have fodder for either building that concept out, building that product out. Like there's the concept of an encyclopedia, and there's the idea of editing the encyclopedia. So then there's products you can decide to build to enable editing. So we have Wikitext Editor, we also have Visual Editor. Those are two products that afford the same, that productized a concept to make a concept possible. So then, and you can also do this process with a single feature, like how do I add a sentence to an article within Wikitext Editor or within visual editor. So you move around this cycle either really fast or really slow, depending on how big your questions are. So then once you're hopping over now into the area of making something. So previously we were trying to know, like, what's the current context and what are the possibilities? What are our capabilities? What can we move? What can we change here? How can we meet unmet needs and fulfill opportunities? So then you, in synthesis is all about taking what you just learned and understanding how does it apply to this project. Like, what did we learn about editing? How did we learn what people want to do, how they want to change an encyclopedia, and all the insights and the unmet needs and the things that we found out in the previous stage, we're now applying to what does it mean for these products of an editing tool, a wiki text editor or a visual editor, whatever products we're trying to build. And what does it mean, like, at the very high level, what is what we learned about the current encyclopedias know for what we're going to build? So what does all this that we learned mean for this project? So then you move over into delivery, and this is like really concrete making stuff, like what we learned and the concepts we've built or that we've come up with. How are we going to evaluate that those concepts are really informing the problems we've discovered or solving the unmet needs? So you do concept evaluation, you iterate the concepts further, you check it out with people, the users that the people you've investigated with in the beginning. You want to go back to the data and see if the solutions that we've come up with, the concepts, are really solid to solve those problems and those unmet needs that we found. So that's really high level, like, process. So how does design research fit into all this? You can kind of break it down into evaluative and generative. And there's a lot other stuff that goes on to enabling this process, which is this little box on the right is building design research at Wikimedia Foundation. That's like scaling the team and things like that. So for generative research, what you get from design research is better understanding people's needs, better understanding their mental models. Like, for example, when I applied to this job, my task was to do an evaluation of the upload wizard. And people's mental models of uploading an image to a website is really clear. Like, it's been established from Microsoft and Google and email and Facebook over a long time, but our process is a little more complex. We have more steps that people need to consider. So those mental models clash with what we're building. There's reason for that. So we want to slow people down to allow them to make good decisions about attributions, but at the same time, we don't want to stop them because we're putting a lot more process in their way than they're used to. So understanding what people's mental models are existing helps us to build products that will work with those mental models, even if we need to change them a little bit. So we also can understand what are the needs people aren't getting met that they need to, like, for example, new editors, when they go to try to edit, can they actually edit? Their goal may be to create a new page, but is there anything that blocks them from that? Their need to, like, be able to create a new page, how are we meeting that need or not? And what are people's motivations? Why do people want to create a new page in Wikipedia? Why do people want to go in and edit? All those things are design research can help really define and inform. And all this stuff is producing fodder for design, to build and design and engineering and building the encyclopedia, building the products that are making it go. So that's generative. And generative research can inform a big concept, like the idea of Wikipedia, of an encyclopedia, or can inform the idea of something like an editing tool, like a wiki text editor or a visual editor, or a way to look at images or whatever the product is. So we do this by methodologies like design ethnography. Design ethnography is really condensed ethnography. You think of ethnography as going out and living in a village with people for like 3 years and really understanding their social conditions and their culture and all the things that make them a unique environment and population. But design ethnography has to fit within design and building product cycles. So we shrink it down to fit. So what it is going into people's contexts and learning about what their goals and motivations are, observing them doing what they're doing, going and kind of. So we can do that remotely. We can go and talk with people about why they're contributing to Wikipedia or why they're not, and just spend in-depth time with them. Because from analytics, we can understand what people are doing and what they're not doing, but there's big questions about why are they not doing that, or why are they doing that? And by spending more in-depth time with people, we can understand those whys. We can find patterns. If we talk to like 15 or 20 people, we can see a pattern, build a really strong hypothesis, and then go and check that out with the analytics again. We can do exploratory research, which is a little less intense than an ethnography. It's, you can explore and ask people to do their first edit while we're observing them and talking with them. And we can see and observe what they do and what they don't do, and ask them questions and ask them for feedback and dig in a little bit more. We can do collaborative design, where we're bringing people in and help working with them to design what would an editing tool be like for them. Have 15 or 20 people come in and see if there are patterns in those contributions that people are bringing in. And we can do another example is like a card sort, which is a way to understand how people organize information. It will inform our information architecture. So I have a few examples of things we've done since I've been here. We did some user experience about Media Viewer. We interviewed, and this was really to do usability testing about the enable-disable flow, but we also asked people about, what do you think, what's their experience? We watched them use it, and we watched them use the page view, and got feedback from them, and we explored with them what is their experience, so we could then share with the rest of the teams and find patterns in those experiences, and then inform how to improve the experience. And for editing tools, we're doing a card sort, which is in progress. We need to get some more people to participate, but it's going to help us understand how to best organize the tools in a way that makes sense to people's mental models of editing tools and editing tasks. We're doing a survey about frequency of editing tasks, and what if people do those tasks in Wikitext Editor or Visual Editor, and also give us some feedback. Is that an easy task or not? How does it work for you? And then we can go and talk to those people and observe them and get more detailed understanding when we find some patterns from the bigger surveys. And also, we'd really like to talk with, like I kind of mentioned earlier, observing people who are doing their first edit or first few edits, and see what that experience is like. Have them share that experience with us in numbers of people, like 15 or 20 people. We're talking about education, people who are teaching Wikipedia, and talking with them and observing their students as they're learning. And then also we want to learn from experienced editors, like what is it like for you to edit? What do you need? And how can you share your experience with us so we can better understand that experience and build for all the different types of users we are supporting. So then the evaluative type of research, once you have a concept or an idea for a product, I look at a high-level concept or a idea for a product like an editing tool or something, you can evaluate that. So you put that in front, you assess if that concept works for people. Is that going to solve their problems? Is that going to help them accomplish their goals? And does it work with their motivations? You can understand the usability of, like, if we have a prototype of an editing tool, like we have prototypes, so we have beta of a visual editor, so we can put that in front of people and understand how they're experiencing and where are the bumps in the road with the visual editor. And we want to understand where those bumps are and try to smooth them out. So, and are these products, concepts, are they relevant to people? Are they useful? Are they something people need? And the way we get that information is we can do a heuristic evaluation or a cognitive walkthrough. So user experience professionals can look at a prototype or a concept, more like a prototype, to see if there's heuristics we can assess a product with, and then there are things that'll stand out like red flags. Yeah, this is an issue. Maybe some things there's no issues, but we'll see the issues, and this saves time in recruiting people for usability studies and things like that, so we can create efficiencies in doing heuristic evaluations and cognitive walkthroughs. And then also, it's very important to put things in front of people to, like, do a usability study.
And concept evaluation is like getting the right people, the people who we're building this for, and seeing if this concept fits with them. Does it work with them? So it's a conversation. It's having them use it, dive in. We can do this in beta features. Like we can get feedback from people who are using beta features over time. So it's not just an hour with the person, but we can talk with them over time and see how is it working as we evolve this, things like that. And usability testing also works with product and features. We do guerrilla testing sometimes, which is really good quick feedback for just like a simple task or something. We go out in the park and hand people a phone and say, hey, would you mind spending 5 minutes with us? We get a little demographic information from them, and then we ask them to do a task. One person's facilitating, and then really importantly, one person is observing. So because what people say they do, what they say is easy or not, many times is very different from what they actually do. So memory is tricky, and people sometimes want to please us, but we can understand their experience in tandem with what they say by also seeing what they do, and that observation is really important, so we make sure we write down those observations as well. So we've done, so an example of concept evaluation will be, we're planning some research about talk pages and flow, and like how do new users, new contributors, and maybe casual contributors, people who haven't been around too long, how are they experiencing talk pages? Can they accomplish basic tasks in talk pages? How is that experience for them? And then also, how do they do the same tasks or the same things in flow, and how does that work for them? What is that like? And we can kind of compare those two products and functionalities for new users, and then we'd like to do the same kind of research with very experienced contributors to see what their experience of flow is versus talk pages. That will really inform how we build these products to support the needs of various users. We did some usability testing with Media Viewer. We've been iterating pretty quick on Media Viewer recently, and we did usability study of the enable and disable flow. So are people able to disable Media Viewer and then re-enable it? And how easy is it? Where are the bumps in the road? We found some feedback. We found a few bumps, and we iterated those, and then we followed up and did more testing, and we found that those changes made it easier for people to iterate, to enable and disable. Okay, and this is all looking at patterns. So we're looking at not just 1 or 2 or 3 people, but we'll test with maybe 7 or 8 people. After 5, you're starting to see the same results over and over and over, and this has been researched and studied for usability testing to see if a human of a certain group of people can accomplish a task. 7 people is plenty, but when we're trying to understand people's needs and goals and more complex stuff like that. Are we still online? Okay. You need to talk to more people, and we like to triangulate with analytics to understand who to talk to and things like that. So this is a quick description of guerrilla testing. We recently went out in the field and showed some people a wiki page as is on the app, and then with a little bit of a redesign to see if we can make it easier to comprehend. And that was just, it's not like statistically significant, but we talked to maybe 7 people, and we got a little bit more feedback than with no feedback for the designers to iterate this design towards, and we'll do usability testing. And so design research, there's different methodologies for the different stages we are in product development and designing. So the other big thing that I've been doing since I've been here, and also Daisy, who's our associate design researcher, is really collaborating to do this, is build our team so that we can support the product teams and the community and everybody involved. So we're scaling our team. So there's the 2 of us right now, and we're hiring 2 more people. We're hiring a senior design researcher, and we're looking for someone who's really, tried and true, tested on usability studies, being able to just jump in and do the research with us. And we're also looking for a participant recruiter, which is really important because recruiting is very important. We need to talk to the right people for the right projects, and that effort is a lot of time. It's a lot of labor to schedule people, to find the people, and
So we're going to get a part-time person to do that scheduling, which is going to enable us to do more research. We're also defining our tools and our processes. So design research is kind of a new field. In the last 10 years, I've seen it grown and get more recognized and needed in all kinds of product development, whether it's manufacturing or software. And so there's a whole bunch of new tools now that we didn't have before. A lot of things were manual, where now we can scale our research. Like we can do benchmarking about usability, and there's tools that afford us to do that. We can do remote research a lot easier and be able to see people's face and reaction as well as what they're doing on the screen. So we're using Google Hangouts as our usability lab right now, and we were looking for an open source survey tool, but there wasn't one that met the needs of robust survey tool that we needed for design research. So we're using Qualtrics. Things like that. We're like looking for the tools that we need to support our processes. And the recruiting process of like creating efficiencies in our processes and how we set up usability, how we do the recruiting and all that. We're also educating about what is design research and what do we provide, and who can we connect with, and what are the values of this effort. So also we're collaborating with many teams, not only the product teams, but we're embedded with the analytics team because we're really wanting to do triangulation with the analytics team. They can help us find who are the right people, help us segment all the people who are part of the communities and understand who to talk to when. They can also tell us about what's happening and what's not happening, and they do a lot of they have superpowers, and they do a lot of really important experimentation to help us understand things. And so we can contribute by helping to understand why things might not be happening or why they're happening. So we can go and talk to a representative sample of people that maybe are just dropping off and maybe they've tried to edit 5 times, they've done 5 edits, and then we never see them again. They can tell us who are those people. We can go talk to a sample and then get some insights and see some patterns and get hypotheses about why that might be happening, and then try to confirm or refute those hypotheses again. So, and community engagement, we want to reach out as far and wide as we can and collaborate with communities and collaborate with everyone and anyone. And engineering, of course. Did I forget anyone? Community members, of course, everybody. So then so design research and agile product development. I've worked at Cisco and Salesforce, and they're to varying degrees agile. I guess Salesforce is pretty agile. Cisco, when I started, was just becoming agile. They were kind of mixed between waterfall and agile. So always in my work, it's been a little bit of performance art about how to fit research in to the development process. Because when I first was starting, there was not a lot of knowledge about the value of it. I mean, the designers and the product managers knew about it, but engineers not necessarily, and product other people didn't necessarily know. So I would have to do a lot of talking about, well, if we want to put product out that is usable, we need to do usability studies before it's put out. And then the feedback that we get is going to be a lot more valuable once it's out there. The easy things to find, they can't find the button, that kind of thing we can solve before it goes out into the wild. So my point is understanding when to do what research within product development and making the room for that. So we have concepts, which let's think about the concept of editing, and then we have the 2 products. We have Wiki text editor and visual editor, and those products are built by a whole bunch of features. So there's adding links, there's adding references, contributing text, editing text. All these little features add up to build a product, and those products then are the instantiation of a concept. So, and as we build product, we are building feature, and then when is it time to release? How many features makes functionality okay to put out in the wild? When is that? We have this concept of MVP and defining a minimum viable product, and that means like it's a functionality that people can use. It's a functionality that is usable. It might have hopefully it meets a need. or solves a problem. Yeah. Well, so, and then, you know, there's the MVP, and then you add more features on, and then there's maybe a second MVP, and then you have a fully done, baked product over time. So I have only been here for 5 months, so I'm doing my best stab at what happens here. So and there's a question mark here, because you guys all can correct me if I'm wrong and tell me, you know, if this is my assumption, or this is, you know, kind of what I've seen. So there's a concept, and then we add some features, and the designers, cheers to the designers, because they've already been doing usability testing before there was a design researcher here. They're using usertesting.com and iterating the designs, and then it goes, there's features built, and then there's a MVP release, and then more features are added, MVP, and then a product. This is like high level, big guess from what I can see. And do we have sprint zeros here? In my experience, sprint zero is like a mythical beast that everyone really wants to have happen, but there's never time for it. But I think there's great value in sprint zeros to really all get rallied behind. This is a really important thing to put out, or these are the reasons we're going to build this, and planning like what is the minimum viable product, what are the stages it should be released, and what are the things that we need to do to make it a successful thing in the end. So any sprint zero? No? Yes? Sometimes? Okay. So then I am advocating to have a little bit more room for design research in our process. Here's just kind of like a high-level example of what it could look like. So that generative research I talked about, like going and talking to editors and really understanding the newbie editor experience, and what are the things that block them, and what are the things that are motivating them and their goals. And maybe we understand that here, but I want to know that. I want to know. I want to know what that is. So this generative research can take a little time, so that and it's great if everybody participates. If engineers and product managers and designers and community members collaborate on this stuff, then we're all rallied, and there's a lot of good alignment on what we're building. So then that kind of thing. And then benchmarking is really important, so that you can start benchmarking on existing things. You can, like for example, let's say there's no editing tools in Wikipedia. We could go to look at analog products, like how do people edit in WordPress or other analog products out there? What are the experiences they're having? What are the things that work and don't? That's one kind of exploratory research. You can start benching, and you can start benchmarking on what are people's current experience. And then, you know, we build a minimum viable product, and then a couple weeks after that's out in the wild, we start benchmarking our own product and see, how is this measuring up to the existing experience? Wow, look, it's a lot easier, or whatever the outcome is. And then over time, as we add more functionality and more features, we can continue to see if what we're doing is progressing, is making it easier for people to edit, is it upping the numbers of contribution, or not. And if not, we can understand why by doing, you know, concept validation early on, so that we are sure that this concept is going to enable people to edit, or enable new people to edit, or enable really experienced editors to continue editing, or whatever the problems we found, or are we solving those problems. And then, like I talked about, heuristic evaluations of just quick looking at things to see, is it usable, is it, where are there any red flags, doing usability testing along the way, and affording time for that. We need to find the right people, and we need to like spend a little time with people. If we spend an hour with people, we can do probably 3 usability tests, and also gather some really good generative research about who are those people and what are their motivations and goals. And as we do those, we add it all up, and then we're understanding the people in the community and the people who are contributing over time. And that will help us understand user segments, personas, really the different types of people who we're building for. So it looks like a lot. It's like a lot more work, but actually it can create efficiencies in product development, so there's less refactoring. We're not going back and we're not putting product out there, finding out I mean, there's good reason to put product out and test it and see, doing load testing and doing beta features, and we get big numbers. But there are things we can do before that to make it a lot more efficient so that we don't have to, oops, whoa, go back and start over again. We don't want to do that. That creates a lot of spin and churn. So this is a really, in my experience, a valuable investment to do this type of research before we release. And so there are some implications, and that means we all need to collaborate. And there's big conversations going on about improving our development process and how we're going to do that, who's contributing, what are the things that we're going to do to improve our product development process. We need to collaborate on that. I kind of feel like we need to slow down a little bit. Not too much, but just enough to afford some more research and maybe other things that we need to do. And also broadening the collaboration more broadly, because we have RFCs which are functional for a certain set of our users, but then there's millions of other users who don't even know about RFCs, or how do they contribute? How do we collaborate with them? And design research is one of those ways. Community engagement is one of those ways. But we need to broaden our collaboration, in my mind. Also, Agile is sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think sometimes it's misconstrued as just a way to go faster. And sometimes that can cause problems. We just go faster, put something out there, see if it's broken, and then fix it. And there's, like I said before, there's things that we can do before we put it out there to get more productive feedback, so that we can find the really obvious things that we can fix before getting it out in the wild. And then once it's out there, we can get more productive feedback from people like, yeah, this is useful to me, or I don't like the UI, or whatever kind of feedback. We'll get more productive feedback if we before release get the obvious stuff taken care of. So there's those things. And then I just finally wanted to make a little pitch for everyone to participate. Anyone out there in the world, we want to hear from everyone. And so we have one of our things we're working on in the design research department is getting a big database of opted-in participants. So we want people to be to say, yes, I want to contribute, I want to participate, and they give us a little bit of information about like how they interact with Wikipedia, what wiki projects they work on, geographically where they are located, at least in time zones, so we know how to schedule people in time. A little bit of information about them, how to contact them so we can schedule with them, and what their interests are. So then when we're trying to move fast and not take too much time out of product development, but fit this research in, we can have a really efficient way to gather participants and find the right participants. So there's a little survey you can fill out to opt in, and then if you ever want to opt out, you can send an email to this, and you're perfectly welcome to opt out at the same time. So this will help us really be efficient in our gathering of people. We have a lot of other ways to invite people to research too, but this will really help us be fast. So that's my presentation. Does anyone have questions? Thank you.
Here's a question from IRC.
Okay.
Does the design research team engage in blue sky research for the sake of building understanding that doesn't have an obvious and immediate use for a product?
That's a great idea. We haven't done it so far, but I would love to do that. That's kind of sprint zero stuff, right? Like having time to do that. I know that I participate anytime I can with the designers in doing concept generation and blue sky kind of things like that, yeah. And the research that we do can contribute to that blue sky being kind of, a little grounded in needs and things. Yeah. Hi.
I think it's not working.
Oh, is it on?
Is it on? Okay, sorry. So obviously I understand the value in product creation, the conception of products, and iterating on products. and the need to sort of slow down to go fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you in that conversation in this organization, and how could I help advance that conversation? I mean, I have no idea what I could do, but it seems like the right conversation to be having, and I'm kind of wondering what you're hearing back.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it. I think other people have been talking about slowing down a little bit too, but I am not exactly sure what that all means. So I'm kind of just getting here, getting the department organizing and trying to scale. So I'm trying to see how to fit in, everything is kind of changing, and how are we going to all land. So I want to be part of the conversations about our product development process and what's changing, and I've that include me in those conversations. Yeah.
How do you account for users who are hard to reach due to distance, language, time zone, etc.? Are we designing Wikipedia for Western English speakers because it is easy?
No, we're designing Wikipedia for people all over the world, right? We want to reach everyone. So one of the questions in the survey is, do you have, what kind of technology are you using? So if we can communicate with you over the internet, that's great, but I'm totally happy to go out and talk to people too. It is a challenge to do translation. I'm still trying to figure out how to find people to help me do translation in things like surveys and card sorts, and when we do moderated research, I need people to help me translate that. So I am totally aware of that need and trying to figure out how to make that happen. That's not something I'm taking lightly. Did that answer? Okay.
Do you see design research as based primarily on qualitative methodologies, or can someone be a design researcher while specializing in quantitative methods?
I think the second is true. Quantitative and qualitative are both design research. So it's a little bit different of methodologies, but they're both informing design, I think, and concepts and products. And also it's really powerful when quantitative researchers and qualitative researchers work together and triangulate, because like I said, there's the what and the why, and if we are collaborating together, it's really powerful understanding.
What's the future for ethnographic methods in design research? Do you guys plan to make time for becoming Wikipedian, or in order to more effectively understand your users?
Yeah, of course. I am learning to edit along with all the other newbies. So I'm diving in to learn these things. Yeah, I think it would be really important for us to take the time, and it wouldn't be just the design research team doing ethnographies. It'd be people from all kinds of teams and community members coming along and doing ethnographies. I would love to go out in the world and be, out in schools, out in anywhere there are people at editathons, and I want to help bring some structure to that kind of those observations, because I know it's already happening all over the place, but I want us to be able to gather the information from those observations. So adding a little structure to that, and also bringing everybody along, and then bringing the information back so that we can really bring that rich information into how we're operating here, into making decisions and in building products.
Any last questions from the room? Thank you so much, Abby. That was really great.
Thanks, everyone.